Mr. President and colleagues, again, we question, from a strictly administrative standpoint, colleagues, is it wise and prudent in these days when people are calling for more accountability for us to be relaxing, so to speak, the limits under which political persons can now instruct professional persons what to buy, from who to buy, up to a certain limit? We certainly advise against it, and we certainly look forward to, at some time, hearing from the Auditor General if this was one of her recommendations for strengthening and tightening the way we use and in many times abuse of the spending of the public purse.
We have to remember that this is not an open-end thing where there is a kitty of money that the accounting officer will dabble in. These stem from a budget with heads and subheads which are controlled tightly. So if your head and then your subhead has $20,000, that's the way you're there. You cannot, it's not open-ended. But what we're doing here, this is not new regulations, and I want to remind this Honorable House that from 2005 to 2008, we had no regulations, because the Honorable Ralph Fonseca suspended them when he was Minister of Budget Planning. And the Finance and Audit Act Section 2370, if I remember well, was suspended. It was brought back into force under this government in 2008. I insisted it come back in. What we're doing here, the old law says, and I will read it, verbal contracts, so there were always verbal contracts, may be made for works and services under 1,000. Accounting officers may make written contracts to a limit of 20 with the approval of their minister. Was always there. And tenders shall normally be invited for contracts over 10,000. Tenders shall be invited for contracts over 20,000. And that is the 701. So nothing in the structure has changed. It's just the quantum. And the quantum have changed, as I've said before, because, Mr. President, back in 1965 and 1992, the prices of things were so completely different. You know right now. And if you go way, way back in history, when I was a little boy, and fortunately for me, my dad had won a lottery and he won a car from the Den Santiago Castillo, a Vauxhall, brand new Vauxhall for $800. So I buy one new car now for then. I started Royal Bank of Canada in 1964 and my salary was $25 a month. A bicycle was $72. I see Sankas and them boy the ride race a bike now for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So all this is intended to do is to allow some efficiency, but it doesn't remove the checks, it doesn't remove the balances. They still have to go through smart stream. The finance officer still has to do it. The accounting officer still has to do it. No minister is on smart stream. None pay, no nothing, etc.